My name is Ethan. I'm just a regular guy. Worked logging jobs up in northern Michigan for a few years. Me and 4 other guys, Jake, Tommy, Ray, and our boss, Carl, rented this beat-up cabin on state land for a 2-week job last fall. Place was old, smelled like damp wood and stale coffee. Had this creaky front porch where Carl kept his thermos. You know, one of those old metal ones that's all dented up. We'd joke about it like, "Carl, that thing's cursed, man." Had a busted 2-way radio too. Kept it on the kitchen counter for no reason. First couple days, it was normal. Cut trees, eat, sleep, repeat. The 2 dogs we brought, Rusty and Max, they'd run around the yard, barking at squirrels. Nothing weird. Then, 3rd night, I don't know, it got quiet. Too quiet. Like, the woods just stopped making noise. I was in bed, trying to sleep, when I heard it, scraping on the roof, like fingernails dragging on the aluminum, slow and deliberate. I sat up, heart pounding, thinking maybe a branch fell, but it kept going back and forth for like 10 minutes. I looked at Jake in the bunk across from me, and he's wide awake, staring at the ceiling. "You hear that?" he whispered. I just nodded. We didn't sleep much after that. Next morning, the dogs were gone. Rusty and Max just poof. No barks, no tracks, nothing. We searched the yard, calling their names, but it was like they vanished. That's when Ray found it. A circle of flattened saplings, maybe 10 feet wide, right behind the cabin. In the middle, there was this pile of deer bones. Clean, stripped, stacked neat like someone built a little tower. No blood, no fur, no drag marks. I've seen bear kills, messy, torn up. This wasn't that. Carl's face went pale, and he's a guy who doesn't scare easy. "This ain't right," he kept muttering. Then Tommy pointed out the boot prints. Big ones, deep in the mud, leading from the circle into the trees. But they had these weird crescent gouges along the edges, like something sharp was sticking out the sides. I kept thinking, boots don't do that. We checked the security camera, cheap thing Carl set up by the porch. Grainy footage, but there was something, a shape, tall, moving between the trees. Walked on 2 legs, but not like a person. Its shoulders rolled back too far, like the joints weren't human. It moved weird, kind of swaying, then it was gone. We watched that clip over and over, and every time I felt watched. That night, nobody slept good. Tools started showing up with marks, hammers, saws, even the axe. Fine, parallel scratches like tiny teeth scraped them. Too small for a bear, too neat. Jake swore he saw something outside his window, just standing there. But when he looked again, it was gone. I told him he was imagining things, but honestly, I wasn't sure. I kept checking the windows, kept my boots on, just in case. Then Ray woke up screaming one night. He's a big dude, never screams. Said his calf hurt like hell. We looked. 2 small punctures, clean, barely any blood. He swore he didn't feel it happen, just woke up to the pain. Carl called the county warden, who came out, looked at the bones, the prints, and wrote "large canine" in his report. Didn't even blink. But we found some hair near the circle. Coarse, gray. Didn't match any wolf or coyote when we sent it to a buddy who hunts. He said it looked wrong. Carl left his thermos on the porch one night, forgot it after dinner. 2 days later, he found it with tiny tooth marks around the lid, like something chewed on it. There was this dark smear on the handle too, smelled like metal, but not quite. Locals started leaving salted jerky at the road, wouldn't say why. Just gave us these looks, like we were stupid for staying. We left a week early. Packed up, didn't talk much. I keep thinking about that footage, that shape in the trees. Sometimes I wake up at night, swear I see something in my doorway, just standing there, swaying. I blink, and it's gone. But I don't sleep with the lights off anymore. Don't think I ever will. I'm not the best at telling stories, but I need to get this off my chest. This happened to someone close to me, and you'll understand why I can't say who exactly. She's important to me. What happened up there still keeps me awake. My girlfriend got a job at a weather station in northern Montana, the middle of nowhere. She'd be alone for weeks, taking readings and sending data to a government office. The pay was decent, and she liked the quiet at first. said it helped her think. The station was a metal building surrounded by sensors. The nearest town was 40 miles away. She had a satellite phone for emergencies and called me every few days when she could get a signal. Everything was normal for the first couple weeks. She told me about wildlife and how clear the stars were. I was jealous. I was stuck in the city with traffic and a neighbor who played loud music. Then about 3 weeks in, things changed. She started calling every night, and she sounded scared. At first I thought cabin fever. "There's something out here," she said on the first night. "Something's been watching the building." She kept feeling eyes on her when she went outside to check instruments. But when she looked, nothing was there. Just trees and snow. "Maybe it's a deer," I said. "Animals get curious." "No, this is different. It feels wrong." The second night she whispered. "It started tapping on the walls," she said. "Around 2 a.m. like someone knocking." I said it was probably metal contracting in the cold. "Old buildings make noises." "The taps moved," she said. "All around the building, like someone walking and tapping, but it was too fast. No person could walk that fast and keep tapping like that." I didn't know what to say. Night 3 she was crying. The tapping had gotten louder and more aggressive. "There were eyes," she said. "Reflective eyes like an animal, but too high. 8 feet off the ground. My light hit them and they disappeared." I wanted to drive up, but it was 6 hours and I had work. I should have gone. "Come back early," I said. "This job isn't worth your mental health." "I can't," she said. "I signed a contract. What if I'm losing my mind?" Night 4 she didn't call until dawn. The tapping turned into scratching, she said, like fingernails on metal. It went on for hours. I was too scared to look outside. I started looking up her company's number, thinking maybe they'd pull her out. Night 5 everything went wrong. She called at 3 a.m. barely coherent. "The handprints," she kept saying. "The handprints in the snow." When she explained, I felt sick. She'd looked outside and found handprints in the snow under her bedroom window. But they weren't normal. The fingers were too long, she said. And the thumbs, they were on the wrong side, like the hands were backwards. The prints led away from the building toward the tree line. Then they stopped right at the wood's edge, like whatever made them climbed straight up into the trees. That's when I knew I had to get her. I called in sick and drove north. But when I arrived, the station was empty. Her truck and everything else were gone. I found her at a motel in the nearest town, sitting in her truck in the parking lot, staring at nothing. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. When she saw me, she broke down crying. I held her a long time before she could speak. She told me she'd packed that morning after finding the prints. She was loading her truck when she saw movement near the tree line. But she won't tell me what she saw. Every time I ask, she shakes her head and changes the subject. Whatever it was bad enough to make her abandon a well-paying job and leave without calling her boss. She's been staying with me since. She still wakes at 2 a.m. sometimes and sits up listening. She won't go camping or even walk the woods behind my house. The company called asking where she was. She called back and quit, saying she had a family emergency. They didn't push. Sometimes I think I should have gone up there myself. But after seeing how scared she still is, I'm kind of glad I didn't. Some things are better left alone. She's slowly getting better, but she still jumps at noises. Sometimes when we're watching TV at night, I catch her staring at the windows, expecting something to be looking back. I don't know what was in those woods. Maybe it was her imagination. Maybe isolation got to her. But those handprints were real. She took pictures before she left. I've seen the pictures. I wish I hadn't seen the pictures. My name's Lucas. 31. I've never been one for scary stories. But what happened last fall at my uncle's hunting lodge in northern Minnesota still sits with me. I went up for a week to help him fix things and check trails. The lodge is an old wood building that smells like pine and wet boots. Uncle Jim runs the place alone. No neighbors, just trees and deer. It started with the trail cameras. Jim had a dozen strung up to track game. One morning he stomped in cussing. 3 were trashed. Plastic split, lenses smashed. I thought maybe a bear, but bears don't tear gear into ribbon. Jim checked timestamps. Every camera got wrecked between 3 and 4. I joked about vandals, but he didn't laugh. He paced, checking the windows. That night I heard scratching, nails on bark, deliberate and close. It would circle, draw back, then come in tight again. I stayed under the covers. In the morning, another camera was gone, torn to bits. The porch light had been flickering, struggling like a dying eye. We started checking trails together and found weird things. Twigs snapped and stacked in little piles like markers. Once I found a deer antler, clean cut, lying in the path with no tracks or blood. Jim muttered it was nothing, but his voice trembled. Jim found a mangled camera with the SD card intact and took it to a tech. A couple days later, we crowded around a laptop. The footage is grainy and shaky, but you can see it. Something big, matted hair, upright and walking toward the camera. Arms too long, hands pale with long curved fingernails. It moved wrong, too smooth like a snake on 2 legs. Its face was a coat of hair. No eyes, no mouth. It kept coming closer, then the screen cut. Right before it cut, there was another sound. Little kids laughing. High, bright giggles, clear as if a child stood there. It lasted seconds, and then nothing. I froze. Jim spilled his coffee. There are no houses nearby. The lodge sits miles from anyone. Coyotes don't sound like that. The laugh lodged in my head. Watching the footage felt wrong. Jim's hands shook as he scrubbed the video. He said he'd seen prints that matched nothing he knew. Marks that went uphill into saplings as if whatever made them could climb. We talked about calling someone, but what would we even say? Cameras shredded, hairy thing on grainy video, and children laughing. Jim's face changed after that clip. He's a tough man, mid-50s, weathered, but he looked hollow. The tech in town shrugged. He'd never seen footage like that either and kept repeating it looked corrupted. To me it didn't. Nights afterward we barely spoke. We moved around the lodge on edge, jumping at sounds. I kept thinking of ordinary things. The rusted bicycle by the shed, a child's laugh, and each image felt wrong. After that it escalated. Footsteps circled the lodge at night, heavy, patient. Once I woke to a smell like wet fur and something sour drifting through the window. Once I thought I saw a tall shadow by the trees before it slipped away. Jim stopped going out alone and kept his rifle by the door. I slept with a knife under my pillow. Stupid, but some comfort. Still, that laugh haunted me. We left early. Jim didn't argue. He packed and drove us out before nightfall. Since then, I've tried to explain everything. Raccoons, pranksters, a trick of the camera. Sometimes it follows me home, curling like cold breath at night. But the footage and that laugh refuse to go. Sometimes at home, in the dead of night, the floor creaks like an old dog pacing, and my body tenses because I don't have a dog anymore. I lock the doors, check the windows, and tell myself it's nothing. Deep down, I know something was out there, and it's not done with me.